Well, well, well. We haven't been talking at all about the Vancouver Canucks and the guys suiting up for the teams at the World Juniors, so I guess this one and only video will encapsulate most of what I think people are talking about when it comes to the top names of the team. Now, just to be clear, there were 3 Vancouver Canucks that made the World Juniors this season. You have yourselves Jacob Truscott, who suited up for Team USA. He is a guy drafted by Vancouver back in the 2020 NHL Draft in the 5th round, something like that? Yes, he was the 5th round selection by the Canucks in that season. He had 5 games played for Team USA, had 0 points, unfortunately. So we move on to the other 2 that suited up for their teams. You have yourselves the 1st round pick by the Vancouver Canucks, 15th overall in the 2022 selection, Jonathan Lekkerimaki, who was one of the youngest players in the entire World Juniors this season. He played for Team Sweden, had himself 3 assists in 7 games played. We'll get to that as to why that was in a little bit here. And you also had yourselves Joni Jurmo, Vancouver Canucks 3rd round pick back in 2020, who suited up for Team Finland as a puck-moving D. Puck moving? More like puck rushing D. That's probably a much better and more accurate way to describe him. He had 1 point in 7 games played, but we'll get into that as this video goes along as well, because what I wanted to do was focus on both of these players, Lekkerimaki and Jurmo, and what they did for their respective teams. Now, Team USA, Truscott, they got eliminated early on, so pretty big upset there for the American squad, but when it came to Lekkerimaki and his Swedish team, they won bronze at this tournament, losing out to Team Finland in the semifinals, but winning their final game, and you had yourselves that Finnish squad that had Jurmo on it that finished 2nd overall. They lost to Team Canada in overtime because Ken Johnson did his thing, Mason McTavish saved a goal, etc., etc. It was pretty cool to watch. What I wanted to focus on was the Vancouver Canucks prospects here, and just some opinions that I'd been seeing online as to how these players performed. Let's go over to Jonathan Lekkerimaki and take a look at this Reddit thread on the Canucks sub. Thoughts on Lekkerimiki's tournament so far? D-Tip1 says, I've been away on vacation, and I haven't watched too much of his play. Now, the reason I'm showing you these comments is because, firstly, a lot of these guys probably watched a lot more of the tournament than I did. There's a lot of footage to go through, and as for myself, I wasn't really watching the tournament live as it happened, so I missed out on a lot of the good, juicy bits. Lekkerimaki looked decent, but not mind-blowing. Thing to keep in mind is that he is one of the youngest players in the entire tournament. The fact that he played every game is already a testament, considering he's eligible for 2 more years of World Junior action after this one. And that's a pretty fair point, because even though we noted that Lekkerimaki only had 3 points in 7 games played and 0 goals, he still went out there and was a part of the team. The World Juniors is a tournament for under 20 competition, and because of the way the format was this season when it's being played in August instead of January, you had some guys actually reach that 20-year-old plateau because it technically is a tournament for players that are 19 at the end of the calendar year. Lekkerimaki will be 18 at the end of this calendar year, so he'll suit up in January again for Team Sweden, and then he'll have another opportunity to do so next season as well. So for Lekkerimaki, 3 points in 7 games played as an 18-year-old guy, a recently turned 18-year-old by the way, certainly is going to give him a lot of prep time for future endeavors with this tournament. You also have to keep in mind this fact right here as highlighted by Black Yoda. It's been fine. You can't expect more from him given the opportunity. He's playing 11 minutes a game in the bottom 6. Sweden's style this whole tournament has been passive. That's why nobody has great offensive stats on that team. Offensively, I think he has done everything he could have with his limited role. His line just dumps the puck and changes for the most part. I think he was benched in the late 2nd of this bronze game because instead of dumping it in, he cycled it back and passed back to the D-man, but the D-man then bobbled it, turned it over, and the other defenseman took a penalty. Somehow it all got blamed on Lekkerimaki. But that's what happens when you're the youngest on the team and you try to do more than your coach is asking of you. But that is a good example of the restrictions he has, and his line, of course. He is still super young, so we'll see where his development is at in 2 years. There are some more comments on this Reddit post going over the coaching and why it's not really all too great, this and that, and it's like, okay, I guess that you can go out there and make an argument as to why this progression is not working and why it's not all too valuable, but at the end of the day, you have yourselves the systems that Team Sweden plays, and it gives them results, so I won't really argue with that. You also had yourselves a graphic posted by the IIHF, I believe it was, saying that Lekkerimaki was the best or one of the fastest skaters in the tournament, and I actually don't think they did it properly because they didn't even use a picture of Lekkerimaki on the graph, so I don't really think that's all too accurate, all things considered. But at the end of the day, the Vancouver Canucks' top sniper prospect and just top prospect in general had himself a tournament where he won a bronze medal, so there definitely is more that you can say he had to gain from this experience than not. Going over to Joni Jurmo, though, this is a player who is suited up in the final year he is eligible to play at the World Juniors in general because he is 20 years old. As we noted, he only had 1 point in 7 games, but he had so many just absolutely beautiful clips of him going out there and skating the puck out of his zone. This has always been the big mainstay trait of Joni Jurmo, the fact that he can pick the puck up behind his own goal line and just get through everybody, forcing the puck into the neutral zone by sheer power of will. He'll go out there, use his big, long legs and long stride to build speed and gain momentum, and he's pretty good at slipping and sliding, dangling the puck inside and outside with very quick touches just to get through forecheckers and force it out to neutral ice. There have been some people going out there and saying, hey, why is he so gosh darn good at this? Like, why is there a clip every few days of Joni Jurmo doing some pretty good breakouts, but he only has 1 point? Now, to that, I wanted to go over to another Reddit thread on the Canucks sub. What does this 2022 World Junior Showcase do for Jurmo? Some of the comments here highlight similar ideas. Crab Beanie says, I'm not sure how or why it doesn't translate into points much. He's so effortless out of the D zone and the neutral zone. He's got a big body, got a good shot at the NHL in the next couple of seasons as well. UBC Throwaway 1 says he could be a defensive defenseman who plays really well defensively, but who doesn't put up too many points. Another user over here, Biega, and fellow PKA listener, says he is still very raw, and his road to the NHL will be tough, but if he can build in his skating, I think he could be a pretty decent defender. Now to that, I want to go out there and agree 110%, because when it comes to the modern-day version of the NHL, it's very much focused on speed, momentum, skill. A lot of the stuff that Joni Jurmo is pretty good at. Now, he's still very raw. He still has to work on the rest of his hockey body of work. So the mindset, the physicality, the defensive play, etc., when he has the puck in his stick and he's breaking out, man, he's amazing. But there are still a lot more things he's going to have to learn. He's got 1 year left on the contract of the Finnish team he is on, the Jukurit squad in the Finnish Liga. He had 10 points in 50 games last season as a 19, 20-year-old player, so we'll see what he does in his final year with the team. And then we'll see what he does eventually for Abbotsford or Vancouver should he actually make that squad, but that is indeed a ways away. He also is left-handed, so there's going to be a lot of contention for what happens in the future with Hughes, OEL, Rathbone, and I guess Dermott as well, but Jurmo might be a guy to break onto that scene, you know, where Travis Dermott is a pretty good and agile defender and spinning around. Quinn Hughes is, of course, Quinn Hughes. You could have Joni Jurmo, who is just absolutely beautiful. When he skates down the ice, he is like a gust of wind just blowing all by there. He's very mobile, and it's a good trait of his to have, so we'll see how he's able to round out the rest of his game. But for now, we had ourselves some Joni Jurmo clips that are making the rounds on Twitter. All you have to do is search up his name, and you'll find a whole bunch of footage of him streaking down the ice. It's going to be really interesting to see how that translates into higher levels of play and smaller ice surfaces as well, because of course the World Juniors is being played in Edmonton, so they used the Oilers arena that's not Finnish hockey rink size, so we'll see what he does in Abbotsford when he eventually makes his debut over there, and Vancouver, inevitably speaking, if he does make the team. But talk in the comments either way all your thoughts about Joni Jurmo as well as Jonathan Lekkerimaki. I guess if you wanted to talk about Truscott too, you can throw in your thoughts and comments about him as well, but I just wanted to focus on the two European dudes because I felt like we hadn't really been talking at all about Canucks guys at the World Juniors, so better late than never to make a video at least talking about him, right? So talk in the comments all your thoughts about Joni Jurmo. How did you think Lekkerimaki played under the circumstances of the team and the deployment and the lines and the coaching, etc., Do you think he just played well enough with the card he was given, or do you think he should have been able to do more? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj 99, and bye.